Greetings once again, Gentleman Jim the Tailor.
Victoria Baylor, professional dressmaker.
And we're here today. I want to introduce you to a gentleman that I took a picture and I posted him. This is Kenneth Linscott. Kenneth comes from all the way from
Akron, Ohio.
And that's kind of far away. Why?
I saw a YouTube video of Mr. McFarlane, and I was very interested in his method of tailoring, particularly learning the alterations, and I had been working on it myself, and I wanted some advanced instruction. So,
It
takes a brave man to come all the way from Akron, Ohio.
But
for the pursuit of knowledge.
A lot of times when my videos and all the stuff that I have on there, you see it. But every now and then you need a little hands-on. And Kenneth braved the distance on him. Now he's been with me now we're going into our second week. And he's going to be with me for a total of 3 weeks. So with that said, I'll let my beautiful, beautiful dressmaker ask him a few questions that you have. What do you have questions for?
Well, I do actually, because I have run into Kenneth in passing, and I've been dying to ask him some questions about his background and what compelled him to make such a trek here. So do give us, and I guess the viewers, some idea about your background. Like, how steeped in sewing is it? When did you start?
well, several years ago, I basically was kind of in transition in job, and I had some training at Goodwill in commercial sewing. And when I had that for a few months, I decided it was hard in the Akron area to get a job, particularly in that, but I was always interested in tailoring, so I wanted to do something with my own clothes and other clothes, so I tried to find an apprenticeship. And it's very hard these days to find a tailor, even, because it's a dying profession.
Yeah.
But those that are still alive and working are either too busy, they don't want to teach, or they don't have the patience to teach. And so you're left kind of struggling, So I have somewhat of an experience, working with and knowing different tailors, but a lot of them didn't have the teaching experience or the time and that Mr. McFarlane has, and so I stumbled upon a YouTube video looking at an alteration that was particularly challenging, and I wanted to see how he performed that alteration. And after that, I found out more information about potential coming here with classes and things like that. It's very hard to learn tailoring, or I have also an interest in music. Just following a video or something, you really need a teacher.
Very true.
And so this has been beneficial for that. So eventually I'd like to not only my goal is to get the alterations down so that I can supplement my income, but then also I'd like to make custom clothes for myself or some of my friends as well. So that's
pretty amazing, actually. So you've taken us from start to finish, and I'm going to dig a little bit more in your past. You said you always had this love for tailoring. Where did that come from?
Well, I was always interested in it because my mother has always made clothes.
Oh, neat. Okay.
She always made clothes I'm one of 4 boys, and she always made clothes for herself, and she made them for my dad and my 3 brothers and myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I would always see her with all these patterns and doing all of these things with the machine and stuff like that. So I've been interested in that, and I also like nice clothes, but so that's and also, there's not a lot of people that do this anymore, so it's it's quite an art. It's tailoring is like trying to find an organist these days, someone that plays the organ. there's hardly anybody that knows how
And
to.
you play the organ.
Well, yes, I do. So
And sings very, very well.
thank you.
Well, obviously Kenneth is multi-talented, being, you know, obviously with his love for tailoring and then also being an accomplished musician. That is really cool. What I love that I heard you say is that you started with this interest and you just didn't let it just end there. You actually went on the prowl. You went searching for information. And was it shocking to you how difficult it was to actually find people to give up the goods?
Yes. I found, and even some tailors admitted to me that that if they learned it the hard way, you know, and they either didn't get a lot of help, some of them got a lot of help, but sometimes people that do this art, they learn the hard way and then they don't want to share that. And so one of the videos that I saw Mr. McFarlane explaining that, you know, that he says, I was, you know, blessed and learned from the great masters of Europe, and now I just want to share that. And he said he'd been teaching for, 30 some years or stuff, and it's just like, oh, this is wonderful, a master tailor that actually really wants to teach. Well, wow, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice. It's nice, and I see how that's working, because some people can do something. There's always this idea of performing.
Yes.
Some people, you perform, or otherwise you teach. Those who can't teach type of thing. And I don't necessarily totally believe that, but I think it's sometimes hard for people who do or perform to teach, because they might not have the patience. They might have the natural
That's
ability. True. Whereas someone like Mr. McFarlane is a master tailor, but he can teach and he has a great method. So I'd strongly encourage anybody, if they really want to learn this, because sometimes a lot of tailors are approached and these people like myself are sometimes turned away because, no patience, no time, they want to retire or whatever, and then there's not that many of them. So wonderful experience.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You've been a wonderful student, too. Ken, as we call him, came to me and he was telling me some of the experiences that he had. And as he sees, like I always say, what's the most important thing in sewing?
Most important thing in sewing is straight stitching.
There you go. There you go.
It's the fundamental.
Because he's here with me, he's seen and he's benefited from that. Because the steps that I have given him, especially in alterations, are what makes or breaks you. And there's not a lot of things in alterations that are complicated if you sew straight. But then there's not a lot of things in alterations that you need to really and truly concentrate on, but a few of the basics. When you master those, yes, you can open an alteration business, or you can do alterations however you want and get the great results.
So what I hear here is always that common theme. If you're going to learn correctly, learn the best methods, and just spend your time kind of being enveloped with that. Because otherwise, it kind of is a waste of time. Could you imagine being here 3 weeks and you're not learning like the direct approach to doing stuff? You just could have stayed home.
Well, exactly, but also in my life, I've spent a number of years either working by myself or trying to go over alterations, and if you don't have that foundation, you're like a hamster on a wheel.
That's right.
And you're going nowhere.
Absolutely.
But if you have that foundation, then you have something to build on, and I noticed that particularly. So.
All right.
Okay. So, Kenneth, I'm going to let you off the hot seat. I won't keep prodding you with questions, even though it's really engaging to have you here and give us your insights. But one question that kind of popped to my mind, especially with someone how long have you been sewing, by the way? I guess let's get a background about that before I ask my question.
Yeah. I never asked that.
Well, I don't count the little home ec class that we had, made it a pillow.
I know,
that
I
type
did
of-
the same
okay.
thing, 8th grade, yep.
But I don't know. Probably seriously, the last maybe 5-6 years.
Okay.
That's all.
So do you consider yourself, you're likely, of course, not a beginner, intermediate, you feel like you're expert level? Where do you feel like you fit with all that?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say just a beginner, but maybe intermediate, but a low intermediate type of thing. But I think I'm going to be able with this foundation to really advance a lot further, particularly when I worked with Mr. McFarlane, just improving my sewing and accuracy and that type of thing, which is necessary. Not waste time. If you sew it wrong, sew it right. Takes the same amount of time to do either. So why don't you sew it right? So.
Okay, and so before I get to the question I was going to ask you, I just got another question, so forgive me, but I thought about that, what you were saying. So there's a misconception, most people think that when you start sewing that, it takes years to get really good. Well, you've been here 2 weeks. How do you feel like it's impacted your sewing with studying with Gentleman Jim, who has a very direct approach on getting things accomplished?
Well, I think quite a bit.
Awesome.
As far as the straight sewing, but also having a method of, I practiced the straight sewing beforehand, but actually applying it to the working garment, I think that's improved a lot. But also, my understanding of how things flow and go together in the method has improved a lot, whereas some of the things like the shoulder of the sleeve of a coat or something of a men's jacket was just like you have all of these layers and it's like totally
It's
intimidating,
isn't
right?
it? Yeah.
So, but now it's actually kind of okay, layer, and then it's making more sense that I can actually know what these things are instead of seeing all of this and being overwhelmed, So
it's cool because when you recognize things, you know what to do once they're familiar to you. Okay, so I'm going to ask my last 2 questions, I promise, I hope. I'd love to kind of get a personal perspective. What do you consider to be the glamorous side of sewing? And then for you, what is the not so glamorous side? So when people sew, they tend to think, oh, it's going to be all, flowers and butterflies all the time. But it's work and it requires certain things of you and it can push us. So what do you consider like the side you love the most and then one you're not so fond of?
Well, I get enjoyment when I took a video of Mr. McFarlane's on how to make a tie. And I'd never done that before, but when you do it, when you piece all the pieces and then it actually, looks like a tie and you've accomplished that, that's kind of the reward. In a sense, I don't know what's the not so fun. Well, for me, it's.
He just loves it all.
Well, I do.
He's stellar.
Well, I do, but I think more of my frustration or the less desirable thing is that sometimes the mistakes and the things that you make and having to redo that type of thing. Whereas I think when those improve, I think that my whole enjoyment of sewing will even improve because I'm not spending so much time, taking out this stitch and redoing it all the time. Yeah. I do like it. I do like it.
And that's awesome. And I think, if anything, that just hearing you today, and I hope it's really inspirational to other people that there are people out there, of course everyone watching know Gentleman Jim and they know myself, but it's kind of that old adage, if you seek you'll find. And again, I couldn't commend you enough for just going out there, letting the desires of your heart make you search for something and getting your hands on it and then going for it. It sounds like you have some really exciting plans for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so I look forward to going to Ohio and passing your shop and seeing some of your tailored things in the near future. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, thank you so much, Ken.
Yeah, we do thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart to make the journey. I do have a lot of things online, and I do get people coming from different places in the country, and adding you to that list is an enjoyment to me. I have the locals that come, but I know when a person is committed and they really want to get it, you can't put a value on
That's
what
right.
you can gain
That's
from
right.
knowledge that you can gain. It's a sacrifice.
That's
it's
right.
a sacrifice.
And it's an investment.
Yeah,
One of the
it's
greatest
an investment
ones. Yeah,
in
you're
either
absolutely
your
right.
future in the industry
Mm-hmm.
or your future of just making your own clothes and being able to fix your own clothes. Because when you start to add up the price that you pay for somebody else to fix your clothes or somebody else to do something for you, what you pay initially to learn how to do it correctly is nothing compared to the long run and the long haul of it all.
That's right.
And we want to thank you once again for your time.
You can.
I've grown close to you. We've had a lot of good conversations. You know, I teach, and Ken can testify that I don't just teach my students how to sew. I teach them how the businesses ran, what they should look out for, what they should go to. Because if I just teach you something, but I don't give you the tools to be able to operate in life, then I've shortchanged you there. They were given to me,
That's
so
true.
I have to pass that on too.
That's true.
So as we close, I want to thank Ken for being here with us.
Thank you, Ken.
And we look forward to whoever else comes, this way, or those who are online, seeking this knowledge. This is Gentleman Jim the Tailor, and
Victoria Baylor, the Dressmaker, and you know how we sign off. As Ken has demonstrated, God gives us all unique, great gifts. Please go out and do some amazing things with them, and we look forward to seeing you in the next show.
thank you very much.
Bye.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.